During Prime Minister's questions on October 22nd, a major public inquiry didn't just run into trouble. It completely imploded live on the floor of the House of Commons, and it all started with one single explosive accusation.
That's the charge from the Conservative Party leader Kemi Badenoch, pointed right at Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And with that one line, she didn't just suggest a mistake was made. She set the narrative. This isn't incompetence. This is a deliberate cover-up. And suddenly, the inquiry's entire credibility was on the line.
So, let's look at the clash. On one side, Badenoch is alleging a briefing war, basically accusing the government of leaking negative stories to the press against victims. On the other side, Starmer promises justice and announces he's bringing in a high-profile fixer. You have to understand, these aren't just different opinions. They are two completely different realities, with the survivors caught right in the crossfire. Okay, let's cut through the noise. In the next few minutes, we're going to get to the facts. You'll know exactly what broke down in this inquiry, who's being held responsible for it, and what has to happen now to have any hope of salvaging it.
Honestly, everything else is just political theater. This entire crisis, the whole thing, it hinges on this one point, a complete and total breakdown of trust. The trust between the inquiry and the very survivors it was created to serve. Without that, an inquiry is just an empty bureaucratic exercise. It's over.
So, what was the immediate trigger for that collapse? Well, it all comes down to this number. Two survivors who were supposed to be at the very center of this official investigation walked away. Now, their resignations weren't just some minor footnote in a report. No, this was a verdict on the inquiry's integrity.
And their reasons for quitting were specific and absolutely damning. They slammed the Home Office's handling of the whole thing, and then, critically, they accused the government itself of waging a briefing war against them in the press. This is the direct source, the receipt, for that cover-up charge you heard in Parliament.
So, with the inquiry's credibility just shattered, the focus in Parliament pivoted hard. The question wasn't just about how to fix the process anymore. It became about who was responsible for breaking it, and for the kind of political language that survivors said had been failing them for years.
And Badenoch came with receipts. She directly challenged senior labor figures on things they've said in the past. She accused the Prime Minister himself of once calling the issue a far-right bandwagon. And then she called for the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, to be removed from her job.
Jess Phillips needs to be removed because I don't think her conduct during this has been acceptable for the position that she holds. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of a survivor. It is a shame that Labour MPs are drowning that out.
This wasn't just politics as usual. It felt personal. Badenoch aimed this line straight at Starmer, trying to draw a direct line from his past language to the current failure to keep the trust of survivors. The message was unmistakable. Your words have consequences.
So facing these direct hits, the Prime Minister's strategy wasn't to argue about the past. It was to try and stabilize the present. His whole defense really pivoted on a single, very significant announcement.
He announced that Dame Louise Casey, a really respected and independent public official who's known for fixing huge, complex social problems, would be brought in to support the inquiry. This was a clear move to try and inject some immediate credibility back into the process and signal that, yes, they were taking this collapse in trust seriously.
But here's the thing. Bringing in Dame Casey, as significant as that is, it's a patch. It's not a fix. It doesn't actually resolve the root problems that caused this crisis in the first place, like that alleged briefing war and the complete destruction of survivor trust.
And that brings us to the single most important question right now. When the central relationship of the entire inquiry, the one with the survivors, is completely severed, can this even be fixed at all? Any path forward that has a shred of credibility has to include these things. First, rebuilding trust isn't a nice-to-have, it is the foundation. Second, we need absolute clarity on Dame Casey's role and her independence. Third, the questions about the safeguarding minister's position need a real answer. And finally, the political attacks have to stop, and the focus has to get back on the evidence.
Because ultimately, this is the standard. A successful inquiry can't be pushed around by political pressure. Its leadership has to be completely defensible. And above all, survivors have to believe in it. Right now, none of those things are true.
So what happens now? The government has to confirm the future of this inquiry and Dame Louise Casey's exact role in it. I'll be tracking those developments closely. If you want the follow-up when those facts actually land, go ahead and subscribe.